Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is 9 o'clock, 2 minutes after 9 o'clock to be precise, on a Monday evening in April. And I was keen to do a live show. Lots to talk about at the minute. I, for one, have just been watching the excellent footage on IFL TV, which sees Santander Cannon Briggs storming the media workout of Anthony Joshua and Charles Martin. He was very, very friendly with Anthony Joshua. There was no beef there. But what was amazing was how the crowd took to him. You know, the entire York Hall was chanting, "Let's go, champ! Let's go, champ! Let's go, champ!" You know, clearly this guy is capturing the public's imagination. And I must say, he's very, very entertaining. You know, I'm hugely enjoying his presence in the UK and his presence in the UK boxing scene. I've got to say, I'm actually hoping to an extent that he doesn't get a fight that he's going to get destroyed in, because I'll be disappointed if Sam Briggs leaves the UK, you know, in a month's time. I want him to be a permanent fixture here for many years to come. So I want to see him knocking out people and getting louder and louder and louder. You never know. Briggs has got a big punch. He's got a chance in any fight he's in, even if it's just a puncher's chance. Wouldn't it be amazing if he got one of these big fights and won it? You know, what a story that would be. But seriously, it's keeping me massively entertained. I didn't actually do the live show to discuss that. I'm sure it will come up, and I'm happy to talk about it because I found it very entertaining. I'm going to try and do 2 live shows this week. The second one will focus on preview and prediction of the Anthony Joshua Charles Martin fight and the undercard that accompanies it. I'm going to look to do that most likely Wednesday night, possibly Thursday night, but most likely Wednesday night. In order to stay up to date with my live shows and when I'm doing them, you've got 3 options. I recommend you take all 3 to ensure you don't miss out. Option 1, hit me up on Twitter, add me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter at Boxing Gossip. I always tweet out a few hours before I'm going to go live. Add me on Facebook. My Facebook name is Tom Space BG. So Tom Space BG, BG for Boxing Gossip, obviously. Add me on Facebook. And subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, it will come up in your subscriptions that the show's about to go live, and you're going to get advance notice by all 3. So do take those steps. I don't want you guys to miss out on the live show that I'm going to do previewing Joshua versus Martin. It's going to be a big one. Now, this show I wanted mainly, we can talk Sam and Briggs, you know, we can talk. I'm never too rigid with these things. We can always talk what people want to talk about. But you know, I thought it was some good boxing this weekend. I've done extended breakdowns of the Adrian Broner fight, the Helenius fight. I did a video covering the Liverpool Cardle versus Dodd, Building versus Brasse, Callum Smith. I haven't done a video on Eric Molina versus Adam Eck. I just haven't had time. But we can discuss all of those fights. And I think it was an interesting week of boxing, actually. I was quite engaged by the weekend. So I'm keen to discuss all of those in more detail. And keep it fluid. I've got about an hour today. I've got to get off for about 10 o'clock. So I'm not going to hang around for too long. We've got about an hour. So there is the option for people to call in, definitely. If you're new to the show, you can add me on Skype. My Skype name is boxing.gossip. And you can call in. We'll get you live on. If you're a returning caller, that's always good, much appreciated. Just feel free to call in. I'm going to get the Skype up and running in just a few minutes. So yeah, we'll get it up and running. So let me just go into the chat. We've got Ben Lowe here. Hello, Ben. We've got YouTube. We've got Megan. We've got Terence Trump. We've got Matt Berry. We've got Tivertap. We've got Richard. We've got Jet. We've got Tom. We've got Kiwi, and we got Alex. Hope everyone's doing well. Thanks very much for joining, guys. It says I've got 25 people watching live. So if you're one of the 25 even, please help me spread this. Click the like button. I'll be able to get this out to a wider audience, get more callers, and it will hopefully improve it. And then you're going to say, we want Adam Smith, or we riot, referring to my brother, Adam Smith. Yeah. Adam Smith has unfortunately got himself a new job, and he's it's his first job as an adult, and he's become very busy and unobtainable since then. I don't know whether he's coming or going. So far too busy for me and my small YouTube channel these days, sadly. We got Bobby. Hello, Bobby. Richard says, what's your thoughts on Huey signing with Frank Warren? Really good, mutually beneficial. For Huey's sake, keeps him active. For Frank Warren's sake, I think Frank Warren needs a co-main event fighter. I'm talking about a guy who can fight in a 10-rounder underneath a Billy Joe, underneath a Terry Flanagan, underneath a Liam Smith. And for me, Huey Fury's a good guy for that. Having a domestic heavyweight, always going to create interest, always going to add value. And I think that's that's really going to be beneficial for both parties. So I think it's a good thing. Understand he's going to be fighting late April on the Billy Joe Saunders undercard, which is very, very interesting. And I understand it's going to be some sort of title fight. I don't know if it's for the English title or some sort of area title or a Commonwealth title. It'll be interesting to see. Cole's joined. Evening, Cole. Amigan said, who would you like to see the Callum fight first? I would like to see him have a rumble with Chisora. David Price would be a very interesting fight. You've got the power dynamic there. That would make it a real tight match that could go either way. Problem is, whether Simon Briggs will get those medium fights. It wouldn't surprise me to see him fight a journeyman he destroys in one. Also wouldn't surprise me to see him fight a David Hay, someone of that nature. I'm just not sure we'll see him in the medium tier fights, the Prices, the Chisoras, because I think Briggs is going to want a lot of money for a risky fight, a lot of money. And I don't know if the demand will be there for a Chisora or a Price to pay that amount of money. Jet says Cannon versus a journeyman, a build from there. Tom says Briggs versus Dave Allen. That's a good fight, but that's one of the fights I don't see happening because, that's a risky fight for Briggs. That could go either way. Briggs is going to want, £500,000 to risk his, chance of one of the big fights. So that's one of those fights that I just don't see happening. Craig has joined. Megan says Dave Allen needs to learn to jab, and I wholeheartedly agree with him. Guys, I'm going to get the Skype up and running. Let me just get it up and running now. I haven't had it uploaded. As I say, you can have me on Skype, boxing.gossip. You can call in live during the show. If you've already called in before, by all means, feel free to call in again. Jet, if you're about, please feel free to call in, mate. It'd be good to speak to you, get your take on the weekend's fights. And some good action this weekend. I thought, I must say, Callum Smith is a guy I've been sceptical of throughout his career. I haven't been totally on the Callum Smith bandwagon, it's fair to say. I've always felt he's a bit upright, slightly robotic, not too much head movement, possibly open to taking a few shots. And I actually thought Rocky Fielding was going to give him trouble, but as he stepped up in level, he's got more and more devastating. And the guy's got tools. He's big, he's powerful, he can punch to the body. He seems to have some sort of chin. Callum Smith is a threat to all. Don't get me wrong, I still pick the very, very top over him. I still think a guy like Andre Durrell or James DeGale will give him all he can handle. But against the medium level fighters, I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether Arthur Abraham beats Callum Smith. I'm not sure whether Badu Jack beats Callum Smith. I'm not 100% sure that George Groves beats Callum Smith these days. It's a real tough one. Real tough one. Badu Jack, he's a good fighter. He's done well recently, but I can't get that first round knockout he suffered to Derek Edwards out of my head, to be honest. Craig says, have you seen much of Eric Hunter? Does he give Selby problems? Haven't seen much of Eric Hunter. I'm going to try and look into him this week. Alex says, what's your views on Jesse Hart? I really rate Jesse Hart. I saw him fight. I think it was on the Mayweather-Pacquiao undercard. I was really taken by him. This is a guy who seemed to be really well-rounded. A real decent fighter. Don't get me wrong, I need to see more of him against high-level opposition. But from my initial glance, I really like the look of him, Alex. I thought he had the potential to go far. What's your thoughts, Alex? Interested to hear your take on him. Johnny says, do you think Jamie McDonald will ever get the exposure and credit he deserves? Simple answer to a simple question? No, I don't. Firstly, his weight is too unglamorous. People don't buy into him. He's not a personality or character outside of the ring. Secondly, his style of fighting, Johnny. It's just not what the casual fan, it's not what the Joe public buys into, mate. So I don't think he'll get the credit he deserves, sadly. Gaz has joined. Amigan says, is it wrong that I want Bute to knock Jack out? I don't think it's wrong. I don't see Bute doing it. I see Jack beating him. But again, it's a winnable fight. Evening, Gaz. Richard says, you're right about Briggs. He doesn't want to risk a lower name. He wants a payday. I hope Briggs does have a fight or two. He needs a couple of fights so he's for real. Yeah, maybe even if he's blasting people out, it's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. Amigan says, Wembley fight of the year, Briggs versus Harrison. Jet says he's about to call in, get involved, Jet. Johnny says, cheers. My thoughts are echoed. It's a real shame he's a class act, and he's referring to McDonald. Yeah, it is. It is. I understand he's doing all right for himself with all the international fights he's had. So, you know, hopefully, even though he's not maybe a superstar celebrity fighter, hopefully he's still building a nice financial legacy for himself. And who knows, there's probably going to be more international fights come available to him with some big money. And you never know, Jamie McDonald's a big guy at his weight. If he can step up a weight class or so, you know, maybe there's some big fights that could be made there. Maybe a Scott Quigg fight could be made. Maybe a Kid Galahad fight could be made. You know, there's some fights there. I'm not saying that mega superstar fights, but you know, we will increase his legacy. Nice bet says, how's Triple G going to fight Canelo? As Khan will smack Canelo up. Well, if Khan smacks Canelo up, Triple G won't fight Canelo. Bobby says, what fight would you prefer to see? Canelo Triple G or Mayweather GTG? I think Mayweather Triple G would be a fantastic fight to see. Amigan says that Khan will slap Canelo and then Canelo will pummel his arse into the ground. Richard says, who would you like to see Terry Flanagan fight in the next couple of fights? Well, look, I'm going to be unrealistic and say I'd love the big domestic fights. You know, I'd love Flanagan. I'd like Luke Campbell. Yeah, it's unrealistic. Jorge Linares obviously would be a great fight. Nice bets. There's no chance. I think he's referring to Khan versus Canelo. He thinks that Khan's going to win. Oh, Jet says he's called, but I didn't answer. Okay, let me just find you, Jet. Jet, I'm going to call you. Let's see if that works, mate. Sane has joined from New Zealand. Hello, mate. Yeah, all good here. Thank you. Hope all's well with you. Just going to try and call you now, Jet, if you're watching. Just bear with me for 2 seconds, guys. Evening, Tom. I think someone just cut out box Canelo, yeah.
Yes, mate.
Jet, how you doing?
Yeah, mate. I called you, but you didn't answer.
Yeah. I don't know, mate. It didn't come through as a call. I didn't get a missed call, but to be honest, I've been having some problems with my Skype. I got lost, so nobody called in, and then afterwards I got like 6 missed calls. So I just think they mustn't have filtered through. So yeah, lucky you said in the chat, so I can give you a call back. But how's things?
Yeah, man, same old. You know how it is, man. It's nothing new. I was just was quite interested in by the weekend results, even pretty decent. I was the most surprising fight for me was actually Fielding Rebrast. I was really taken aback by that. I was shocked when Rebrast knocked him down, but I could see it in the first couple of rounds. Fielding was really struggling with the pressure. What do you think? What's your take on it?
Yeah, do you know what? I actually bet on Christopher Rebrast to win the fight. Yeah, I mean, I just felt he was a bit of value. I thought he was a very tough guy, and I thought it was a big fight for Rocky Fielding coming off a bad loss. But I must admit, I didn't expect Rebrast to cause Fielding the problems he did, because Rebrast is not a big puncher whatsoever. And to see him drop Fielding like that is a major concern, especially after we saw Fielding drop so quickly in the Callum Smith fight, it really does suggest that Fielding may not have the best punch resistance. And yeah, Fielding had no way of keeping Rebrass off him. You know, you'd expect Fielding would be able to jab and move a bit more and try and be a bit more elusive, but he was very upright. And yeah, I must admit, I do think it's fashionable to criticise Eddie Hearn. It's fashionable to have a go at Sky Boxing, and I think because of that, the vast majority of the boxing public have jumped on the bandwagon of saying Fielding got robbed. Rebrasse got robbed. Rebrasse should have won, but Hearn bought the judges. To be honest, and this is coming from someone who actually bet on Christopher Rebrasse, I did think Fielding deserved to win by the skin of his teeth. I just thought he was doing the better work throughout the course of the fight. Yeah, Rebrasse made him look bad. Rebrasse gave him a load of problems, but in the majority of the rounds, I did feel that Fielding was the classier boxer. How did you see it?
I'll be honest. I was actually speaking with Taryn today, my cousin, obviously.
Yeah.
He actually said he thought Rebrasse won, and I said I had it. Or he said you can give it either way. There's discretion for either, but he had it as a Rebrasse win, just or a draw. And I was like, I'll be honest, I gave it as a draw. I didn't see much in it, especially with the knockdown. I would have sided with Rebrasse if I had to side with someone.
Yeah.
I just thought Rebrasse was carrying the pace, was carrying putting the pressure on, and Fielding, he wasn't really hitting Rebrasse clean as the Sky commentators were actually making out to be. Jim Watt we know Sky commentators would give them a lot of stick, etc. But Jim Watt was appalling. I mean, there were certain times where Fielding was actually, trying to go to the body and whatnot, and Rebrasse was actually, he took it on the edge of his elbows, and you hear Jim Watt going, "Oh, that's a beautiful shot by Fielding." I'm like, no way, man. I was like, no credit for the away fighter whatsoever. He gave him no credit. And he said, they said it was a tight fight, but that doesn't mean anything in the context because he lost another fight. So I understand that he's been brought over as an opponent and he's been brought over as a name, but to not give him any sort of credit whatsoever is poor. That's really poor. Like I had Rebrasse, well in that fight. I mean, Fielding, he's found his level now. If I'm honest, I never really rated him at the start, and now this kind of solidifies that. I'm not a big fan of him. This has just proved that he's hitting European level. If that, like, maybe he should drop back down to British level and fight at British level and try and, rebuild from there if he has to do that. Because with Eddie Hearn, you're going to get an opportunity for a big fight anyway. So it kind of works out well for him, even though he's won a razor close decision. So I don't know what happens with him, really. What do you reckon will happen with him?
Paul Smith, I think that's a definite option. There's been some words between the two of them in the past. That's a big fight for Liverpool. I wouldn't completely rule out George Groves. Someone of that nature. I strongly suspect that Chris Eubank Jr. will fight Billy Joe Saunders in July. I suspect Chris Eubank Jr. will lose that fight. And I then suspect immediately he will sign with Eddie Hearn and move up to super middleweight. And it wouldn't surprise me if Eddie Hearn feeds Chris Eubank Jr. a few domestic names. And this could be as early as September, October. We could see the likes of Eubank Jr. Paul Smith, Eubank Jr. Martin Murray, Eubank Jr. Rocky Fielding. Really sort of building Chris Eubank Jr. into a force at super middleweight. So I do think that with his associations, Rocky Fielding will get some more fights. And do you know what? I think he's actually a solid enough fighter at British level, maybe Commonwealth level. I just think that you're right. That sort of European level, he's probably found where he's at for now.
Yeah, that's just my opinion. I don't really. I mean, everyone raves about his power, but he did drop Rebrasse. He hurt Rebrasse once. I think it was in the what?
Yeah.
I think it was. But apart from that, he never really had him in danger of going down or anything. He never really hurt him to the body. I mean, Callum Smith hurt him to the body, and he hurt him real bad to the body. I mean, that was a ripping body shot. I think it was a left hook to the body.
Yeah.
He ripped it with. And Rebrasse really felt that one, and you could tell he didn't really want it in the last 2 rounds against Callum Smith. But Fielding, he was relentless. He came forward. I don't know if it was some he worked on something different, or it was like obviously as sharp as someone like Callum Smith, but I don't know. It's just I think his found his level, as we said. So the less said on that, the better, I guess. Really, let's see how he progresses from there. Really.
Absolutely, yeah. What did you make of the other fights on the card?
Yeah, I was actually I was trying to stay away from the Broner fight, but I actually caught the high. I watched the whole fight online the day after, anyway.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but Broner looked good. I mean, obviously, Ashley Theophane is. Don't get me wrong, he's not a A+ fighter or anything, but he did relatively well. We know Theophane he can box a bit, he can brawl as well. He can do a bit different things. He gave Danny Garcia a bit of hell earlier on in his career. But I don't know, Broner, he still have the same problems in his game. That's going to stop him from being elite. Right at the top like a Mayweather level fighter. He's flat-footed, and when he throws his punches, he's not throwing enough punches against a volume type fighter.
Yeah.
And that's going to lose the fights, especially if he's going to move up to welterweight or he's going to fight the top fighters at 140. He's lost the title now, so he only has a name. I mean, to be fair, he's still going to get paid ridiculous amounts of money, let's be honest. But even then, having a belt and it associates you kind of at the top of the division, if you know what I mean. But it's difficult with Broner. He's called out Floyd Mayweather, obviously, but should he be bothering to actually face Floyd, where if he's lost the title, go after another one? The Troyanovsky and Cuenca rematch is next month, I think, or the month after. So that's a possible line he could go down. Victor Postol is defending soon. Terence Crawford's obviously there. That would be a huge fight. So I mean, I know Al Heyman and Bob Arum don't really work together or whatnot, but if you're going to make these big fights and make Broner a big star, roll the dice and give him a big fight. So let's see what happens with him. He's got good talent, but as I said, I think the thing about being flat-footed and very, very low volume, it really hurts him in the long run. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Adrian Broner is a legit world-class fighter at 140 or 135. I just don't think the guy's a welterweight. I mean, even at 140, and people are saying, Jet, that he was 170 in the ring that night. So he came to the ring as a light heavyweight, which is crazy. And you could kind of see it in his arms and his chest, but I just don't think he's a welterweight. I don't think he's got the size and the strength. I think his power is reduced. I think his punch resistance isn't there, against the bigger guys. I just do think eventually he'll get found out at 147, whereas I think he really is a force at 140. I think he's very, very good. And if he was in 140 in good shape, a bit leaner, a bit more, less fat on him, I think he'd be even more of a threat, even more of a problem, to use his nickname. At 147, I think if the Mayweather fight's there, he's got to take it. Floyd Mayweather should beat him handily, but a loss to Floyd Mayweather doesn't hurt your career. And also, Floyd Mayweather's a guy who's nearing 40. He's been out of the ring for some time. There's always a risk he gets older overnight. I don't think it happens, but it's worth taking the fight. The Danny Garcia fight really is a fascinating fight. These are two guys who are both small at 147. Garcia's one of those guys who looks very beatable. Clearly, he's very hard to beat when you're actually in there with him. But Garcia is vulnerable to a world-class boxer. He's vulnerable to a jabber. And I think that I would end up picking Adrian Broner to actually beat Danny Garcia, to be honest. How do you see that fight going?
Yeah, I'd actually be inclined to go with Broner. The thing is, it depends how the fight turns out. It's hard to tell, because I mean, Danny Garcia, as you said, he looks really beatable. But I mean, if he's for me, they're both flat-footed. Firstly, so there's not going to be a lot of movement There's not going to be a lot of moving around the ring. But the thing is, both their powers for me are overrated at the higher weight classes. At the lower weight class, possibly, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of power. For me, it's tough to say. The style, it depends how the style of the fight goes. Who's going to come forward, who's going to box, who's going to try and move. that sort of stuff. And I'd go with Broner, not comfortably, but I'd definitely go with Broner. I think he's got a bit more strings to his bow, so to speak. But Danny Garcia, as we've seen time and time again, he's expected to lose, and he comes up with the goods. So you never know. That's a really, really interesting fight. If anything, I'd like to see. I know he was calling him out. I'd like to see Kell Brook versus Adrian Broner. That would be a really, really interesting fight. I know Kell's an elite outside range fighter, and he uses his range, and he has impeccable timing. But Broner might be able to cause him some problems. He's got really, really good hand speed, so he could offer something different to Kell that Kell's probably not seen in a while, especially since the Porter fight. Even Porter's big thing. So it's kind of it'd be a really, really interesting fight. But for me, I don't think 147 is his home. I think he needs to stay at 140, focus on getting down to the weight properly. 170 is ridiculous. I mean, that's almost touching what Brandon Rios done against Tim Bradley in his last fight. So, I mean, you got to kind of cut the weight, and that's my problem nowadays. The fighters now, they should be cutting weight properly, because in the long run, it's detrimental to their health. And, they're just going to jump weight classes and get hurt by bigger, stronger, fitter guys. You know what I mean?
This is it. And that's what I think about the Kell Brook fight. Because do you know what? That Kell Brook Broner fight wouldn't amaze me, because they're so desperate for an opponent for Brook. I could see them making that. And the thing is, whilst I'd give Broner a chance against Danny Garcia, if I'm honest, I wouldn't give him a chance against Kell Brook. And I know, look, Broner's clearly better than Bizier, Dan, and Frankie Gavin together. He's a lot better than those three. But I've got to say, Brook is a massive 147 guy. Brook is, to be honest, I think Brook would be an above average size light middleweight. Brook is the kind of guy you could see fighting at middleweight one day. I just think he's so strong, he's so big, and he's so powerful. I just don't think that would end well for Broner. And that's not a criticism of Broner. That's like saying, if Sergei Kovalev fought Manny Pacquiao, who would win? They're just, for me, they're so far apart in size and power and strength. I just go with Brook. But I've heard a lot of stuff about who Brook's opponent's going to be. There's a lot of chat that it's going to be Broner or Lamont Peterson. So they're looking at these. Obviously, they can't find like an elite 147 guy to fight him. So they're now looking at elite 140 guys stepping up, which is still a bit disappointing for me.
Yeah, I heard it on Box Talk, I think it was. I heard it on someone's channel, and it's kind of upsetting, like, in terms of Kell wants the big fights, but he can't get them because everyone else is tied up. Look, Porter and Thurman are fighting in June. Tim Bradley and Manny Pacquiao are fighting next week, so they might not be available if they have a war.
Yeah.
And then all the other guys that Khan's moved up to 155, he's facing Callum. So there's no one there. Danny Garcia is probably holding out for the Floyd Mayweather fight, or he's holding out for another big fight, apart from possibly Kell Brook. So there's no one there really. There's a lack of options, and Broner obviously possibly struggling with his weight, and obviously he did make weight, so he could be an ex-viable option. And Lamont Peterson actually said that when he comes back into the ring, he'll be campaigning at welterweight, and same with Lucas Batiste. So they're potential options as well, but they're not the names, especially since Amir Khan and Lamont Peterson actually had a really, really close fight, but then he got knocked out by Batiste in 3 rounds. So those sort of thing. Broner's obviously knocked out twice when he's moved up to welterweight. So it's not an elite thing. I mean, Broner's a name, but I picked Brook to win that fight. Just going back to briefly, but it'd be an interesting fight, at least better than what he's been facing. But the more I think of it, it's going to be Jesse Vargas. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
We spoke about it the other day, online and offline. So I do think it'll be Vargas. But, the only good thing, I guess, for everyone is that he's cheap. He'd probably be cheap to bring over to the UK if he does come over. So he wouldn't be relatively expensive. But the problem is, if he does get the Tim Bradley rematch, and he has a really good showing, he'll expect a lot of money. Same with Tim Bradley. Tim Bradley has a really good showing, or he wins the fight against Manny Pacquiao, he'll expect a lot of money as well. So, sometimes you do want what you can't have, and you just gotta.
Yeah.
You know,
the only reason I'm not, you know, when we were talking about it the other day, Jet, I was convinced it was going to be Vargas, but now having thought about it, I'm slightly less sure. And the reason being, you know, Vargas will be one half of the champions in a unification match. He's going to want a decent sum of money. And the problem is Vargas isn't a pay-per-view opponent in my eyes. I mean, I just don't think people are going to be rushing to pay for Vargas, whereas Broner, even Brook Lamont Peterson, you know, people know about Lamont Peterson. It's sellable because Peterson beat Amir Khan. You know, I just see those guys as an easier route to pay-per-view than Vargas. So I wonder. But yeah, I could see it. There's something else I was keen to ask you about, mate. This weekend, as I'm sure you know, Johan De Par absolutely flattened Helenius, and also Eric Molina absolutely flattened Thomas Adamek. Does that strengthen Deontay Wilder's claims ahead of a Povetkin match? Because obviously Wilder dealt with both of those in you know, I'm not saying he was picture perfect in either fight, but he dealt with both of those with a little bit in hand.
Yeah, really good question, actually. I was actually thinking about this over the weekend, and I was thinking, well, he's beaten both of them, and obviously Thomas Adamek is probably fighting two weight divisions above his natural weight, so he should be fighting at light heavy. And you know, Helenius is a really, really big, strong heavyweight. But for me, he's always been a bit flat-footed, you know, really plodding, as he said in, you know, post-fight video, and I actually agreed with that. As in regards to whether it strengthens Deontay's position, I think it does, ever so slightly. Yes, it does. Oddly enough, I've actually been more inclined to go with Deontay Wilder to win the fight against Povetkin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why, but I'll keep changing my mind up until the night of the fight, probably. But for me, I just think Deontay Wilder, you know, he's a bit more athletic. He can, you know, obviously, in comparison to Fury, for me, he would lose against Fury. But, you know, he's got decent movement. He can do everything average. You know, he's average at everything. For me, Povetkin will come forward. I know he's won an Olympic gold medal, but for me, he doesn't box like he has an Olympic gold medal. Neither does Andy Joshua. But that's just obviously my opinion. And obviously, I'm not like hating on them since I got a bit of sticker on one of your videos from someone the other day. But,
oh, did you?
Yeah. It's still part and parcel of it.
It is, mate. It is, yeah.
But like, I think Povetkin will just come forward. He'll power forward and do what he normally does, and just try and knock your head off. He's a good fighter. Don't get me wrong. Povetkin is a solid top 5 operator at heavyweight. But for me, I just think Wilder could do a few things that will put him off his game. You know, just befuddle his rhythm. And for me, it won't be Klitschko type win where we'll knock him down 6 times. I think he'll just, if he can box how he did against Deverne, especially how he boxed against Deverne, I think he can win that fight. You know, not comfortably, but he can win it about 7-5, 6, 8-3, 8-4 rounds. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, it does strengthen his resume in terms of his upcoming fight against Povetkin, especially with the Molina fight. I thought De Par might be a good opponent for Helenius at this stage. It might be a competitive fight, probably go with 12. But I was very surprised to see, obviously, KO'd him. Eric Molina, I was actually expecting him to lose against Adamek.
Yeah.
I thought the same as well. So I was very, very surprised at that fight. I'm very surprised. So yeah, definitely does strengthen this thing. Well, but what do you think? Do you think it's strengthened him? Or?
I mean, it's funny. Obviously, Adamek is shot to pieces, and obviously Helenius is unproven and too heavy, probably. But the truth is, if Deontay Wilder had knocked out Robert Helenius and Thomas Adamek, he'd be a lot higher in most people's estimations than he was after his wins against Molina and De Par. I agree with you that the Bermain-Stavern fight is the key piece of form ahead of that Povetkin fight. You know, Povetkin looks slightly out of ideas against Klitschko. He only had one plan, and if Deontay Wilder can fight the same fight he fought against Stavern, he's going to cause some issues for Povetkin. My issue is, I mean, one of the things you said earlier on, you said that he's average or decent in most areas. And I agree with that. You know, he's athletic, he punches hard, he's got a jab, he can move. But The area I think he's below average is defensively. And, you know, Povetkin, we've seen what he did to Perez, we've seen what he did to Manuel Charles, we've seen what he did to Callum. You know, this guy has the punch power to end the fight. And Wilder, I don't think his chin is as bad as people make out, you know, but Wilder has been dropped by very low-level fighters, both in the amateurs and the pros. And you just wonder if maybe he's 3 or 4 rounds up on the cards, you know, getting comfortable, and then Povetkin absolutely decapitates him. You know, I think there's a chance, you know, and to be honest, that's what's going to be my prediction at this stage is Povetkin KO, just because whilst I think Wilder can be outboxing him, I don't think he'll stay defensively sound enough for the 12.
Yeah, I mean, and some people are just saying, like Gaz is just saying on the chat, Povetkin is much better than the man and Wilder can't box like Kitchener. Yeah, I agree. At this stage, I just had Wilder adjust. This is just, if he can, for me, if he can do what he did in the Stavern fight, then I'll you know, think. But on that note, Povetkin is much more skilled than Stavern. I just think Povetkin, if he does come forward, he just trudges forward and does the same thing, I think he can be boxed. But as you said, you know, Wilder with his dodgeball action, man, I love you know, your imitation of it. But yeah, I mean, if he does that, then there's no thing. This is a toss-up match, and it depends what you like, really, I guess. I wouldn't be surprised to see either man win. Let's put it that way. And yeah, I mean, it's a tough fight to pick, and you know, people are obviously going to have their own views on it. But at this moment, I'm on the fence. I'm possibly leaning slightly towards Wilder, but I'm on the fence definitely.
Absolutely.
That's the answer from the screen.
Yeah. It's on a slight delay. We're talking about 20 seconds before it comes on, but
yeah, I think that's generally.
Yeah.
It might just be elections or
that seems to be.
Well, I mean, Smith, Callum Smith obviously called. Callum Smith obviously won, but to be fair, we didn't really learn much. I mean, he stopped the guy. I don't think Mohammedi's been stopped.
No, he's never been stopped. He went 12 with the Gale, I think.
Yeah. And that was pretty decent fight. I think the guy won about 8-4, but he was always injury prone at the time and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't really learn anything from that because Mohammedi was always lost to like the top of the division, or he didn't really look big at all. I mean, Callum Smith looked hulking at 160.
Yeah, mate, Mohammedi weighed in. I think he weighed in at 164. Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? Bizarre. It looked to me like a light heavyweight versus a middleweight.
Yeah. It was bad. I mean, for me, we don't learn anything from that fight, especially. Actually, me and my cousin were talking about today, bro. Like, he was like, what I noticed is Smith gets hit a lot, even against building. He did get caught with 2 or 3 shots.
Yeah.
And against Brass, he got caught a lot. And at the top level of the division and the game, you can't be doing that. Against Mohammedi, it's okay. Against Brass, it's okay. He's a light puncher. But against De Gale, Badu Jack, I mean, I'd expect I'd actually think he beats the winner of Boutte and Jack. I'd actually think he beats either one of them. But against someone like De Gale, I can't see it. And if he steps up, because eventually I don't think he's going to be able to make 168 anymore. He faces someone like Andre Ward, Kovalev, even maybe Stevenson, because of his lack of head movement and body movement. I think he'll get found out at that level. At the top of the division, he'll get found out. But just below that, I think he can win a world title, don't get me wrong, but there are fundamental flaws in this game. What do you think? What do you make of Callum Smith?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think super middleweight has kind of gone from being one of the strongest divisions to quite a weak division over the course of 2 or 3 years. I mean, I remember a few years back, you had Andre Ward at the top, Carl Frotz, you had guys like Mikhail Kessler, Andre Durrell looking like he was a real potential star. It's kind of dropped in class. For me now, you've got James the Gale, and then below James the Gale, everyone looks beatable. Durrell's shown frailties, Badu Jack's been knocked out, George Groves has been knocked out a few times. Arthur Abraham's looked a bit dodgy against a few of the British opponents. For me, Callum Smith can definitely win a world title at super middleweight. I believe his main weakness is defensively. As you say, he is a bit hittable. He's quite a classic Joe Gallagher fighter. in the sense that he doesn't have the best head movement. He's quite upright. And yeah, I think you made a very, very good point, which is that Callum Smith is 25 years old. He's about 6'4". Surely when he's 28, 29, at that height, he's not going to be able to make super middleweight. He must be tight at the weight already. He's one of the biggest super middleweights you'll ever see. George Groves is a big super middleweight. James DeGale's nickname's Chunky. If you stood him next to either of those two, he'd look like a monster, I think. So the problem is, mate, at 175, Kovalev, Adonis Stevenson, punchers of that caliber, Beterbiev, if he doesn't smarten up a bit defensively, he could get knocked out. But maybe at 168, there isn't actually like crazy power punches at 168 right now. I mean, there's got someone like DeGale, Dirrell, they can punch hard enough to hurt you, but there's not like a Golovkin or a Kovalev or a Klitschko in the division in terms of punching power. So yeah, he might be all right for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Obviously, as you said, it might be 2-3 years until he starts feeling the weight, possibly maybe even the next 18-24 months. So we don't know. I'd expect him, if he did go down the WBO route, I think he could beat the winner of Ramirez Abraham. WBO route. Felix Sturm is shot to pieces. He got a gift decision. Well, for me, it's not a gift decision, but he got a very generous decision. Get Chudnov in the rematch, and he could beat Karolus as well. And he could, as I said, I think he probably beat the winner of Jack Butte. I think for me, his strongest test at 168. I'd actually echoed the sentiments of Tony Benny for once. I'd say DeGale's probably his biggest threat at 168. The rest, I think, are fairly beatable. I mean, everyone else has shown frailties. Don't get me wrong, DeGale gets hit a lot as well. But, DeGale, I think, is just awkward. He switch hits. He punches hard enough to get your attention. Do you know what I mean? He's very, very, very awkward to fight. And I don't think Callum Smith would want to fight that kind of opponent. The rest are quite, ABC. You know what they're going to do. Manu Jack, down with the jab, will come in with a combination. Then with Arthur Abraham, who will work for about 30 seconds to a minute of each round. So, kind of what the other guys are going to do. DeGale, very awkward and, very tough fighter to beat on his day. But yeah, Callum Smith has a good upside in comparison to the other younger guys at super middleweight. So, let's see where he goes from here, really.
Absolutely.
And what else was there? There was one more fight that actually.
Cardle and Dodd, was it?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. And I actually heard the week before, obviously, Luke Campbell was on the card, on the Brazier undercard. And I actually was, as I said to you online and offline, and I was said to you that I'm surprised he actually called out Cardle, but I'm unsurprised at the same time. Do you think Cardle will go for a trilogy with Dodd, or do you think that Luke Campbell will actually, Eddie Hearn will say, here's a better fight with Luke Campbell, more exposure, and it'll probably be on you probably get a larger audience. What do you think will be the thing, and how good do you think Cardle is on this performance as well, and how do you score it?
It's an interesting one, mate. I think what was interesting is Cardle came out afterwards and said he didn't want a third fight. Eddie Hearn came out afterwards and said he did want a third fight. And I think part of that is that Dodd is a massive ticket seller. And, Hearn's got big fighters in Liverpool, Callum Smith. And to be honest, the Callum Smith fight, I think they sold 5,000 tickets for that bill. And of that 5,000, Dodd had sold 1,000 himself. So I think Eddie Hearn probably does want a third fight to support future Liverpool bills with Callum Smith and that sort of thing. Scott Cardle is hardly going to be selling out arenas himself. So, if they can sell big tickets through Dodd Cardle, why not? It's probably appealing to the promoter. Think about it, 1,000 tickets, maybe at £60-70 a go. Yeah, that's a lot of money that they are able to generate from that fight, and to help fill an arena for a big Callum Smith fight. So it wouldn't surprise me to see them go again. It also wouldn't surprise me for Eddie Hearn to think, this Scott Cardle has got a lower upside than we initially thought, we may as well stick him in with a guy like Luke Campbell and, you know, sacrifice him because he's not going to get to the top anyway. For what it's worth, I actually think Scott Cardle is massively talented. You know, how I scored the fight, either a draw or edge to Cardle, you know, I actually thought it was another one of those where people were jumping on the bandwagon and saying Dodd had been robbed and Eddie Hearn had paid off the judges. I actually think that whilst Cardle was, you know, not doing a lot in many rounds, neither was Dodd really. There was a lot of rounds where, and don't get me wrong, Dodd did win some rounds clearly, but there were a lot of rounds where Dodd was, you know, very basic and not really doing much himself. And I actually sided to Cardle. Some of the stuff Cardle does is really advanced. And some of the stuff that he's doing with his head movement and his leg movement and his footwork is, you know, European level at least. But at present, he's all substance. Sorry, he's all style and no substance. Do you know what? It actually, to give a brief footballing analogy, because I know you like your football, Jet. He actually reminds me, and I'm not talking about the class here, he actually reminds me of a very young Cristiano Ronaldo when Cristiano Ronaldo first signed with Manchester United. You know, all of the skill in the world up and down the sideline, no end product, you know, failing to get that cross off, failing to get the ball on target. You know, Scott Cardle was doing some stuff in there that he'd obviously copied from Floyd Mayweather and Bernard Hopkins, but he was failing to land the basic counters. He was failing to get the jab going and land enough. And what was the most terrifying is he was doing all of this real advanced head movement and ducking and weaving, but he was failing to put his hands up. And it's so frustrating when you've got a fighter who cuts so easily and they don't even put their hands up. Because, you know, Dodd was throwing a jab, he was dodging it, but then Dodd was doubling up the jab and catching him with the second one. And he could have, if he just put his hands up, he'd have won the fight 9 rounds to 3. But for me, all style, not enough substance, not enough end product. What do you reckon?
Yeah, totally agree, mate. He does this. In the first fight, I think it was more over exaggerated with the head movement and whatnot. But this one, it looked a bit better. I actually scored the fight to Cardle 7-5.
Okay.
But for me, he just needs to cut that out of his game, and, you know. And for me, I heard them in the first, just before the first Dodd fight. In his fight before that, they said he was actually one of the most decorated amateurs in the UK, and to see him negate some basic boxing, you know, basic boxing skills is really poor. I mean, if he's one of Britain's best amateurs, he should be showing that off against, you know, let's be honest, above average opponent like Dodd. He's not a world beater. If Dodd was a world beater and, you know, he was struggling and getting a draw against him, or even someone like a Mendy, if he was getting a draw against him, I'd understand, because he's tough, rugged, he's going to come forward non-stop. Whereas Dodd, he's like, you know, play ABC, you know exactly what he's going to do. And that's what kind of worried me about Cardle. Don't get me wrong, I think Cardle could get up to European level, but at this moment in time, if he can't fix the chinks in his armour, I can't see him going past that, because he will really, really struggle, especially the lightweights at the moment. They're killers. Like, some of them are killers. Terry Flanagan, I bet can knock him out, to be honest.
This is it. Yeah. He'll get knocked out. It's as simple as that. You know, because guys like Craig Evans, Dodd, you know, have been giving him all sorts of bother. He will get knocked out if he faces a solid European level fighter, unless he addresses the problems in his game. And what's so frustrating is it's so easy to address the problems in his game. You know, this is the kind of thing that you or I could tell him. So it's bizarre that he's not picking it up himself. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Jet, I must crack on, mate. I've got to head off at 10 o'clock tonight, so I must crack on. But thanks very much indeed for the call, and yeah, we'll have to speak again soon before the big one this weekend. Yeah, man. Give you a shout probably during the week sometime, mate. Yeah, definitely. All the best, mate. Catch you soon. Cheers. Bye now. Catch you soon. Okay, bye. Thanks very much indeed to Jet for calling in. Always a pleasure. If you guys are new to the channel, or if you guys haven't followed the live shows before, do check out Jet's channel. We've done a few videos together on his channel, and he's got some good coverage. You can find his channel. It's just Boxing Discussions. So look him up, hit the subscribe button there, and support what he's doing as well. So, guys, I've got another 5 minutes or so. We got 45 people watching. If you're one of the 45, please do hit the thumbs up. I've got Miles calling in, so let me just speak to Miles.
Hello?
Miles, how you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Not so bad. I only got a few minutes, I'm afraid, so we'll have to be brief. But what did you make of the boxing this weekend?
I thought it was very good for the most part. How about you?
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Smith impressed me. Fielding didn't impress me. Helenius didn't impress me. I thought Broner was better than expected. Yeah. Was there any standouts for yourself?
Well, I would say the Broner fight. Mind you, I'm not a huge fan of Broner outside of the ring.
Yeah.
But I mean, he always looks good against a certain level of opponent.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. But
so if you don't mind me asking, what's your prediction for Pacquiao versus Bradley 3?
I'm thinking Bradley. I'm thinking Bradley on points, mate. I suspect. I think momentum is very important in boxing. You know, Bradley's coming off probably the biggest win of his career. Pacquiao's coming off one of the worst losses in his career. Pacquiao's an older guy. I don't think his style is going to age particularly well. You know, he's very powerful, very explosive. That's not the sort of style you want to rely on as you get older. You know, that's something to mention. I also think, you know, I was one of the rare few who thought Bradley deserved to win the first fight. In the second fight, Pacquiao definitely deserved to win. But Bradley was, you know, giving him issues, and Bradley had a massive injury. So I think Bradley injury-free could give him real issues. What do you think?
Well, I agree with the first fight. I thought Bradley did win.
Yeah.
I believe another caller also called win the other day, and he had the same rounds that I did. I had Bradley winning the first 3 rounds.
Okay.
Like 4 rounds.
Right, yeah. I can't remember how I scored it actually, but I remember just it was tight, wasn't it? It was competitive, really good fight.
Yeah, not to mention Bradley injured himself, and he still made Pacquiao miss majority of his punches and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are you picking Bradley on points or by KO?
Well, I agree with you that you'd have to favour Bradley because he's younger. He's better conditioned, you would say.
Yeah.
And he always mentally, he always, you know, he always matures as a person, doesn't he? And has a new trainer now, and you have to favour him.
Yeah. Well, when is the fight? Is it 2 weeks away? Is it?
I think it's this weekend actually.
Oh, is it this weekend? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you're a betting man, Miles, but I saw Bradley's available to win on points at 4-1, which I think is amazing value. I'm going to be having some of that for myself, definitely.
Yeah. I wouldn't say by knockout, just because he knocked out Rios, but obviously if you hit someone there, I believe that it can knock anyone out. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I guess so. Bradley's not the biggest puncher in the world. I think that knockout win over Rios was more due to what Rios' weight was doing. And you know, Pacquiao, I know he's been heavily knocked out by Marquez and stuff, but on the whole, he's a tough guy. He can fight late. So I think points will more suit how this will break down stylistically. So it'd be interesting to see. Yeah.
If he knocks him out, you know, and I'm glad that I hope Bradley does win, just because of the criticism that he got after the first fight, which he won, which, you know, it wasn't his fault that the commentary were biased. So I hope Bradley wins just to, you know, put that, you know, just to.
Absolutely. Yeah, he seems like a nice guy at the sport as well. So be interesting to see. Miles, I've got to run off, I'm afraid, mate. But thank you very much indeed for calling in.
No, thank you for answering, sir.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Cheers, mate.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, mate.
Great stuff. Thanks very much to Miles. And thanks for all the guys in the chat as well. I'm sorry I haven't had the chance to go through all of it, but we will we'll do it again, guys. We'll do it again. As I say, Wednesday, Thursday night, we're going to go live again. I'm going to put aside a good 2 hours for that one because I know there's going to be lots to talk about. We're going to cover Charles Martin versus Joshua, obviously. We're going to cover all of the undercard fights. So we're going to do it in detail. So thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. I've enjoyed it. Thanks to Miles and Jet for calling in. It means you haven't had to listen to me ranting at the screen too much tonight, which you get enough on the videos anyway. So yeah, really appreciate everyone taking the time to tune in tonight. Really appreciate everyone who's commented as well and got involved. Yeah, and I hope everyone has a good evening. I'm gonna call it here. Richard Wiles actually makes a very good point, which I will just read out before I go. He says, shout out to Nick Blackwell, who's come out of his coma. And yeah, very, very good point. Came out of his coma on Saturday. Wish him all the best with his recovery. I understand a lot of people in boxing are doing some good things for him. David Hay, fair play to him, is giving him some 10% of his purse. I understand there's various fundraisers and, you know, glove auctions. And I know Martin Murray and Spike O'Sullivan and a few others are helping out as well. So credit to everyone involved in that. Thanks to everyone for watching this. I hope everyone has a good evening. And yeah, hope to catch you soon. Hope everyone joins again for a live show later on in the week. Final call, please do hit the like button. Please do subscribe to the channel. The more people we can get involved, the better. Speak soon, everyone. All the best.